episode 144.
Are you ready to take your eBay business to the next level? Then hold on, because Ron and Ali are going to take you into the fast lane with the latest tips and insights from some of the biggest and most successful sellers here on the So You Want to Sell on eBay podcast.
Welcome once again to another episode of So You Want to Sell on eBay. I'm Ron LeBeau.
And I'm Ali Young.
Hey, everyone. We have with us Annette Rostetter. Annette, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great this evening, guys. And you?
I am doing fantastic here in St. Louis. I'm not even going to ask Ali how he's doing in Thailand because
you're just jealous.
Always the same.
No, it's everything's good, everything's happy, everything's awesome. It's just you're just jealous, Ron. That's all it is. Nice to have you with us, Annette. Brilliant.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me to be on your show. I feel very honored.
We are
We're the ones honored.
Yes,
we're the ones honored.
Indeed.
So Annette has been selling on eBay since 1998, and she comes from a family of collectors and auction goers and discovered eBay as a way to liquidate the many treasures found over the years. After a 34-year career at NASA, she quit in 2016 and now enjoys eBay selling without the interruption of a 9-to-5 job.
Oh my
wow.
I mean, I can't, here you are at NASA and now you're selling on eBay. I mean, that's like two extremes, isn't it? That's brilliant.
Yeah, I guess I have a split personality disorder or whatever because, I enjoyed a 34-year career at NASA. I enjoyed it very much. But some things happened over the last few years that kind of changes your perspective on life. I don't want to start off the show on a downer, but I lost my husband 2 years ago to cancer. And as a result of that, just sort of changed my attitude about things. Sure. And I sort of lost patience with the 9-to-5. And I was sincerely burned out, I think, and didn't really feel I was giving that job 100%. So I chose to take an early retirement. And now I just am trying to take care of myself and do eBay and trying to live life to the fullest. Sounds kind of cliche, but that is
nice.
That's it. That's what happens when you go through a major life-changing event.
Absolutely. And you know what? You're touching somebody right now. I mean, seriously, we have a lot of listeners, and somebody out there is relating to your story here. And let's talk about your husband. What was his name?
His name was Brian.
Brian, okay, and I'm sure he was, if he didn't help you with the eBay stuff, I'm sure he supported you, is that correct?
He absolutely did. He hated everything to do with thrifting. He just, it was really not his thing, but he liked the money that I brought in, which we used primarily for vacations and other, it was just kind of fun money.
Sure.
He certainly enjoyed that, but he supported me 100%, and he was actually my shipping helper. He would make the trips to the post office for me. That was before I was
Nice.
the post office pickup. So he was my post office guy. So definitely a huge help and just obviously a huge part of my life. We were married for 37 years.
Amazing.
So
all right. Well,
long, good life.
We're definitely sorry for your loss, but I know that Brian's with you in spirit. I know before the interview started, we kind of talked a little bit about it, and you said that he's kind of with you in spirit and just kind of helping you along, and that's really awesome to hear. So, very, very sorry to hear your loss. But let's get talking about your store and your business and talk about some great things that are going on in your world with your eBay business.
Yeah, definitely. Well, should I start at the beginning, like how I got
best
started?
place to start.
1998, back in the dark ages of eBay anyway, the wild, wild west of eBay when you could sell anything.
Yep.
You put anything up for auction and it would sell. And it all kind of came about because we needed to liquidate my husband's parents' estate. So we had a tag sale. But I knew enough, coming from a family of collectors and auction goers, I knew that there were items that really should command a higher price than what we could get at a tag sale or an estate sale. It depends on, what area you're in and what they're called. And so I held those items back, and I told my husband and brother-in-law and sister-in-law that I'd heard of this thing called eBay, and I was going to look into it. I was fairly technically savvy. And so I explored it, and I did. I sold one of the items from the estate was a mourning ring. I don't know if you're familiar with mourning jewelry, not the time of day.
All right, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it's mourning, and it was a ring that had a channel in it, and a secret channel. You open it up, and it would have your loved ones, like some of their hair wrapped around it, and it was called mourning. It's a Victorian thing.
Yeah, it sounds funky.
I sold this ring. I think it was around $225, and so I was hooked.
Yep, I bet you were.
Yeah, definitely. So pretty soon we discovered I started working with my father, who has been going to auctions in my entire life. Unfortunately, I also lost him in 2016 too. But for many years, he and I had a great, I guess you call it a business together. Essentially, his basement was my source.
Oh, no, that's easy.
He would bring lots of stuff up from the basement, and we'd be talking about, what was selling on eBay and what this or that. And I'd say, oh, yeah, I noticed somebody had this fountain pen, and it really sold for a lot. He'd go down to the basement and bring up a box of fountain pens. Here, could you sell these? He did the same thing with fountain pens. We sold, he went to an auction once and bought a huge lot of gigantic porcelain tire signs like Firestone and Goodyear.
Oh, yeah.
It's big in our area. I'm from Ohio. And I tell you, I have sold just about everything.
I love it.
The great thing about it is he would bring me something to sell, and I would know nothing about it. So it gave me an opportunity to learn and do the research, and he loved the research too. And so he, the usual thing on Sunday nights when a lot of auctions were ending, he'd call me, and I miss those phone calls of, Annette, what's happening on eBay? What's selling today?
Right.
What's going on? And I would give him an update on how auctions were going. And it was just a great hobby and connection to have with my father. And, we made some decent money, too. I used to call it, when I would give him a check for the proceeds of the sales, I would call it making a deposit in my 401k account.
Yes.
Thanks, Dad. Good stuff here.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's pretty much how it started.
So you didn't have to go out into the markets and go hustling. It's just you went down to your basement and you picked up some stuff. That's amazing.
That's
So you've come through the days when I imagine back in those days research was a bit harder than it is today. I mean, today you got the sold items and you got other ways of doing it. So how did you get through that process and realize that fountain pen was worth something like that?
Well, I'm trying to think. How did I learn that?
Back in the
a lot were
days.
books that my dad had. There were books that he had, and so I used a lot of his reference books. Were bigger back then because what was available online, as you mentioned, wasn't quite as prolific. But I also utilized friends and family. I tap into their expertise as well.
Yeah.
So, and there was still a lot of information available on the internet then too. So that was what we were.
Yeah, and you made it through the tough times. I mean, seriously, eBay has come a long, long way since 1998. I mean, and so this is just a great time for you, I'm sure, as far as your listing and your doing your day-to-day stuff going on right now, right? I mean, it's just night and day difference.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even remember what it must have been like back in those days. I'm really grateful that I have this way of earning money and to, pay my bills that I didn't have to learn it all from scratch. I've been accumulating this knowledge over the last 20 years, and I feel badly for someone who is starting out right now because it's not as well, I don't want to say it's easier in some regards, but in a lot of other ways, it's a lot more complicated than it used to be, where we could just throw anything up for sale and it would sell.
Yep.
And now there are just so many more things we need to take in consideration. All the different parameters that eBay has put in place to meet certain metrics and so forth, to maintain top-rated seller or so what, or just to keep your stuff, just to remain competitive with so many other great sellers out there too.
Yep, and I understand that about the new sellers and stuff, but really there are a lot of tools that they have available to them that you didn't have, and I sit there and I think sometimes, how did eBay even survive those dark ages? Because without all those tools and without that research, you literally were just putting something up there for a price and hoping it would sell. I mean, without any good statistical data that it said that this calculator sold before for this, and now I should be able to get that for it. Yeah. So the newbies, they've got a lot easier than you do, I will say.
There's no doubt about that. But on the other hand, I've been able to learn as I've gone along, so I don't have the learning curve on a daily basis that a lot of newbies do.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm seeing your pictures here are awesome. Like, are you doing all your own pictures and everything? Are you?
Yes, I do everything myself.
Absolutely,
I do
everything from everything.
Okay.
Wow.
Everything. I do everything. Again, the sourcing, cleaning up stuff, writing the descriptions, the photographs, everything.
So it's a full-time job, is it? Like you'd be doing certain days, doing different jobs, or?
Yeah, you know what? I have a flow of the way I do. I'll go out on a day. I'll do sourcing like at a thrift store, and for us in my area, those days are Thursdays and Fridays. Those are garage sale days, which is kind of strange to a lot of areas. But yeah, Thursday is a big day. So it's getting to be warmer here in Cleveland, Ohio area. So very soon it's going to be garage sale season. I'll go out, I'll spend the morning and I'll source. And you try to be kind of particular about what I buy, nothing too terribly big because it is just me. So I'm not really into, dealing with furniture. But everything I bring home, I try to take care of over the weekend, that I bought it. And that would be going through the things, doing some, preliminary research, doing cleanup, and then sitting down and actually writing up my listings. I use a product called 6-Bit Software. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I used to be I was a Turbo Lister user for many, many, many years, and I really liked it. I didn't have problems with it, not the problems that a lot of other people had. But as you know, eBay pulled their support of that, and I was really stretching the use of that piece of software to its limits, and it finally it broke on me right before Christmas. So I decided I had to go to something else, and I really like to archive all of my listings, because when I go to write up something like right before we went on air, I was writing up some vintage gloves. Yep. So in the program, I'm able to go in and just search on gloves vintage, and it brings me up a list of ones I've already sold. I can do a quick perusal through, pick out one that looks like, oh, this is a lot and I'm selling four pairs, so I'll choose that one. And then I can just go in and do some editing of it. And I don't have to start from scratch, which for me is just a lot easier. And it's just sort of nice to have an archive of all of my listings. I probably have over 10,000 listings in 6-Bit Software right now to pull from. So, it really does save a lot of time. I just have to be very careful because if you don't edit correctly, you have the conflicting information.
You change things.
Yeah, definitely. So that would be one of my cautionary tales to people who do that, is just be very, very careful when you do a list similar or do an edit of an existing piece of software. But after I do all of that, then I take my items to the photography area. I take all the pictures, and then I do some degree of editing in Photoshop. I'm a Photoshop user, so I can adjust, the levels and make sure that I've got good contrast. Being very careful to make sure that I'm not altering, the item. I don't want to blue sky anybody into thinking something is better than what it is. I'm very much a believer, and would encourage others to also be very honest about any flaws in your items and photograph them. With older and used items, which is what I specialize in, primarily used goods, whether they be a collectible of some kind or clothing or whatever, people don't mind for the most part if there are flaws. They just want to know what's there, and they just want you to be honest with them. And so once I've taken the pictures, and then I pull the pictures into my listings, and then every night I go in and I pull out about 5 or 6, and I upload about 5 or 6 listings. So that's kind of my process. I always have a probably about 100 listings or so in the queue waiting to be uploaded.
Amazing. And, unbelievable.
That way I can have a steady stream. Yeah, I could load them all right now, but I like the idea of every day being able to add something, to my product stream. I think that's helpful.
And we hear that all the time. Always be listing. Always be listing. List something every day. List something every day. And I think eBay likes that, right? And, I'm looking at your store, and like Ali said, it is just phenomenal. And just so you know, if you're listening out there, it's Elmwood-Cottage-Collectibles. We'll put it in the show notes. But your store is just incredible. The images. The images, the categories, the way you have everything categorized so neatly and nicely, and it just looks like you have been spending a lot of time. Definitely. And then I hear you say that you spend so much time on your listings. It's unreal that you've got 10,000 listings, and you do all the due diligence that you need to do to make sure that any flaw or anything is characterized, because absolutely transparency is important for I tell you what, if I got something that had a defect on it and you didn't tell me about it, it's coming back, and you're going to get a negative feedback. So that's really cool, because as we know, feedback is important, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. If I could add one more thing about the defects, one of the things I've found out about myself recently is I have a tendency to put on rose-colored glasses when I'm looking at an item that I just love. Yeah. And I ran into a situation just this past week. I had a gorgeous vintage dress that I had purchased, I think, at a garage sale, and it was from the 50s, and it was handmade, and I just was in love with this dress. It was so phenomenal, and I listed it, and it sold the other day or last week to someone who wanted to take it and take it to a seamstress, and she wanted to wear it to the Kentucky Derby, and I thought that was so cool.
My God, that's awesome.
Well, she got it, and she responded to me. She says, the dress is fantastic and the fit is really great. But then she started pointing out some issues with it that I had overlooked. Yeah. And I readily agreed. And I said, you know what? You're right. And I explained to her, I think this is a problem I have. I see something I fall in love with. Right. And my eyes have a tendency then to overlook some of the flaws that maybe, I shouldn't have.
My wife does that to me all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing, though. It's a good thing. Yeah. But I asked her, I said, please, I'm so thrilled you want to take this and wear it. What would what would work for you? And so we agreed upon a partial refund, which I was happy to give her. She was very fair to me. She responded that I was very fair to her as well. And I told her the only thing I want in return is I want her to send me a picture of what the finished product looked like. And I want to see her all done.
Cool.
So, that's exciting. So, again, it's just being honest. Even when you make a mistake, admit that, you know what? I probably overlooked that, and I'm really sorry. And make it right.
And you know what, though? I will say this. You not only did you do the right thing, but you also built a relationship with her. I mean, you kind of let her know that you're a person, that you're doing business, but, you do have, a conscience. And she might come back to your store and buy something again because of that trust that you built with her.
Absolutely. And I try to do that with all of my customers, even to the point where one of my tricks that I do when somebody sends me an offer, even if it's what people often refer to as lowball offers, it's, somebody offered me $50 for a really cool 1970s blue leisure suit. I've got it for sale.
Yeah.
and I have it for sale for $200. And, I'm willing to negotiate on that, but 50 was a little low. But I simply respond with, thank you so much for your interest. And I try to use their name if it's a parent in the offer.
Right.
Dear, Leo, I really appreciate your interest, but at this time, that's more of a discount that I can provide. But here's what I can do. And then I always sign off using my name. Again, the whole idea, and actually I think that's a sales trick. I didn't make sales in college, but I know using the person's name and using your name, it personalizes you. I'm not Walmart. I'm not, there's not a corporation. I'm a person here.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite word in the whole world is their name.
Okay.
Yeah, and so anytime that we use people's names, Annette, it does kind of sink in there, and it does matter.
Thanks, Ron.
No,
that's
Ron and Ali will be right back after this short break.
So, you have an idea, a big idea, and you're ready to jump into the world of e-commerce. Awesome. But where to start? The answer is only a click away. At solutionsforecommerce.com, you'll find available services to help manage, audit, or even build your e-commerce site from the ground up. With over 10 years of experience in developing and managing channels on sites like Amazon, eBay, Shopify, and Etsy, Solutions for E-commerce can help you to grow your small or large business. Take a step back from the technical and do what you do best, and let Solutions for E-commerce handle the tedious stuff like creating, reviewing, adding, or removing listings, setting up or organizing store categories, even merchandising and customer support. Find out why their clients say that their business wouldn't be what it is today without the help from Solutions for E-commerce. Visit solutionsforecommerce.com and take your e-commerce business to the next level. That's solutions, the number 4, ecommerce.com. Use promo code eBay at checkout for an exclusive So You Want to Sell on eBay podcast discount.
Be sure to check out So You Want to Sell on eBay.com for the latest podcasts and all the information you need to get selling fast.
No, so we got a question in last week from Sheila from Sheffield in England, and she was talking about, she's like you, she does everything on her own, and she doesn't know how to find out how she can go on holidays, how she can also have a life but sell similar to your sort of style. So what do you do for holidays? I mean, do you shut your shop down? Do you not ship out? I mean, what's your strategy for it?
Holidays are very important to me. That's one of the things I do. I still do. I have a great group of friends, and we travel together a lot. We just spent the week in Palm Springs in March. In May, we're heading to Puerto Vallarta. What I always do a couple days before I leave, I put my store on vacation. However, I don't hide my listings. What I do, though, is extend my handling time to incorporate all the days that I'll be gone. Right. So if I'm going to be gone a week, I extend it to 10 days because unfortunately eBay doesn't have an option between 5 and 10. Right. But so I extend my handling time out to 10 days. And it's great to be on vacation and hear that ka-ching of the phone and know that, I'm sitting around drinking a drink with an umbrella in it and making money at the same time.
You're sitting there going, man, I cannot believe I just paid $10 for this margarita. Cha-ching. Yeah, oh, never mind. That was free. Yeah.
For that. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So let me ask you this: you've got 10,000 items in your store. Can you?
No, not in my store. That's in the archives, archived within Six-Bit software. Yeah. Those are old listings. I have about 600 items currently up for sale in my store.
Okay. So can you in eBay? And this is a silly question, but can you in eBay put the vacation for everything at one time?
Yes.
One fell swoop. Okay.
Yes, as long as you have a store. That is one of the features of having a store. And a great reason if you're on the fence about having a store, especially since now eBay has created the super low-level store with, I don't know, like 25, 50 listings, something like that. They've got one that's real affordable, and that's one of the benefits besides getting higher visibility in your items and be able to create some continuity by not not always having to end a listing and restarting it. You do have features such as being able to put your store on vacation. So.
And that's a great point. So let's talk a little bit about that, having an eBay store, right? Because, there's a lot of people out there thinking, well, I'm going to start a business, an eBay business, but I really don't know if I need an eBay store, right? So tell us a little bit about the features of having an eBay store versus not having an eBay store and just trying to sell one here, one there kind of thing.
Well, for one thing, it's been so long since I've had a store since 2005. So it's been a long time, and things have changed a lot since then. But this is my understanding. When you don't have a store, your listings have, a limitation, for how long they'll be up. And after, I think, 30 days, and then you've got to go in and you've got to relist. Well, you can't create a clientele. You can't create a relationship. You can't create a brand that way if you've just got random items that are thrown out there. And that's one of the great things with having a store. You can create a presence, and then you can do some social media marketing as well. Whereas you've just, whomever, and you've got, 10 items up for sale, you can't really generate a lot of buzz around that. And again, eBay's got this new lower level tier store, and it's a great way to dip your toe in that. So it's a lot less maintenance. I create a listing. I put it up in my store. I've got some items that have been in my store for, a year or two, or even longer now. I'm trying to weed out some of the older stuff, but that's the advantage of it. It's low maintenance. Yeah. And I'm not paying for those individual listings. I can list, I think, up to 1,000 listings at my store level. So I don't have to make decisions. Gee, I've only got, 100 listings I can do. I'm going to have to remove this one so that I can list this new thing.
Right.
Just throw it out there, and you worry about dealing with the new stuff that's coming in and getting your new listings up.
And I will say this, if you don't have an eBay store and you're thinking about, getting serious about eBay, an eBay store, is like $30 a month or something like that. It's not that much. And if you're going to do anything, if you do it individually, the listing fees and the insertion fees and things are going to add up pretty quickly anyhow. Yeah,
and I'm a believer that until you take that step and create the store and start the store, you're not going to grow. Because you will grow into that then. If you're sitting around waiting for some magical sign or, to reach a certain point or whatever in your sales, you're never going to do it. But if you create the sale, or the store, you just plunge in, do it, and then you can modify it. I started out with just a real basic, no banner of any kind, no real presence, but you got to start somewhere. Yep. And then once you've done that, then you can start to grow into it. And I think that there's some motivation, built-in motivation that comes along with having started that store.
Yep. And I would think that the having that store would be the first steps in making it feel like it's a real business.
Absolutely. That's an excellent point, and I agree 100%.
So much great advice here. If you're listening to this podcast show, you're getting so much great advice from Annette. So before we go, this is always the last question of the show. Where do you see yourself in the future? You're going to get some more people to help you out? You're going to grow it? Where do you see yourself?
When I first left NASA, that was my thought, that, I'm going to, create a really super, super big business and really ramp up with things. But since then, I've changed my philosophy a bit. I really enjoy a balance in my life of spending time with my friends, spending time with my family. I look after my elderly mother, which I enjoy doing. There are a lot of other things I like doing. I like the travel. So down the line, I actually can see maybe scaling back a little bit. In fact, I'm already starting to do that, kind of streamline things. Yeah. Because I'm realizing that at the level I'm doing it, I'm making enough money. I have enough income coming in with, some other sources that I'm lucky enough to have. And so I don't want to work any harder than I have to be honest with you. Yep. So down the line, my goal is not for major growth. It's just kind of keep things where they are, keep myself sane. I don't want to have to deal with employees.
Keep yourself
I
safe.
did that for a number of years, a long time. I don't want to deal with employees anymore.
Right.
So, to be honest with you, I kind of see myself doing pretty much the same thing I'm doing, maybe more efficiently, but also spending a lot of time traveling and enjoying myself.
Cool. Very good.
I mean, I love it. I mean, you just got so much great, and we've run out of time, Annette, but I don't think I haven't talked this much on the show for a long time. You're just filling up the time perfectly with all this great advice that I've got no questions to ask. Fantastic to have you on the show, Annette. Really, really seriously fantastic. You've got an amazing story. That thing with your husband and how it changed the way you view your life now, and how you enjoying yourself through life now, and not necessarily working for the corporations. A lot of people are going to get a lot of stuff out of this, Annette, so thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
You're very welcome. And again, thank you for having me on as a guest. I've really enjoyed it.
You've got a great American accent as well, so I just leave it. We'll post all the notes from today's interview on our show notes page, which can be found at www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/show notes. But Annette, before you leave us, what's the best way people can get in contact with you?
Probably the best way would be through Facebook. I do have Elmwood Cottage Collectibles Facebook page, so that would probably be the easiest way.
Okay, brilliant. Again,
okay,
alrighty. We'll put that on our show notes as well. So go over the show notes, click that link, and ask any tough questions you have to Annette. Thanks once again.
Happy to do so.
Thanks once again, Annette, for joining us. From everyone here at So You Want to Sell on eBay, I'm Ali Young.
And I'm Ron LeBeau.
That's all for this episode of So You Want to Sell on eBay. Be sure to check out our next episode or any past episodes by going online to soyouwantasellonebay.com. Also, be sure to follow us on your favorite social media sites, facebook.com/So You Want to Sell on eBay, and Twitter @Your eBay Podcast. Thanks for listening. And until next time, happy selling.
Have an idea for a topic or know someone who would like to be on the show? Let us know. Just go to www.soyouwantasellonebay.com/interview. We look forward to hearing from you. This podcast was produced in part by Pro Voice Works.